Okay, we're going to call the meeting to order. All please rise. Frank, would you please, Santa Cruz, please lead us in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to
The flag of the United States of France, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
For those who are online, can you please mute your microphone? Thank you.
Okay, Gilbert, we go ahead and call the roll, please.
Okay. Sean Samsel. Present. John Winchester. Present. Melissa Brown Dominguez. Charlene Robinson. Here. Tom Beresny. Present. Tom Beresny. Yes, sir. Present. Lucretia Free. Present. Frank Santa Cruz. Here. Ed Berber.
Present.
John Bernal. Here.
Thank you. Okay, first I'd like to comment. We have a new member joining the committee, Sean Samso. Sean, would you say a few words about your background so we can all get to know you a little better for those who don't know you?
Sure. My background, I went to the University of Arizona to study civil engineering. I've worked at SOMIS, transportation engineering company, consultant here in town for 18 years. Currently, I'm a principal there and the Arizona regional manager. Over the last 18 years, I've worked on a wide range of transportation-related projects all around the western U.S. through California and Arizona, including Pima County, City, Tucson, Cerrito, Marana, and Oro Valley.
A broad range of experience. Welcome to the committee. Glad to have you. Also, Tom McGovern is not renewing his membership. I wanted to personally thank, and I know the whole committee appreciates all the input and ideas and just the steady stream of help from Tom and the committee's work over the years. So thank you very much, Tom. I don't know if you're sitting in or not, but our warm thoughts for your help with the committee.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Just a comment. I think he's occupying his time very well, though, with the RTA.
Yes, we know he's more than ultra busy. It's hard to get in touch with him. Thanks, John. Okay, we're going to go ahead, and since we have a quorum, we're going to go ahead and put on the open for any comments on the summary of the minutes for the October meeting. Any comments? Is there a motion? Hearing none, is there a motion for approval of the minutes for the October meeting?
We approve the minutes. This is Lucretia.
Okay, Lucretia moves. Is there a second?
Charlene seconds.
Okay. I think Charlene got the lead on you there, though, Tom. Thank you. All in favor, say aye. 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 Any opposed, say nay. Okay, the minutes are approved. We did not have minutes of the last meeting because there was not a quorum, so there wasn't a need for a summary of the minutes. Okay, moving on to the next topic, bylaw modification for quorum. In the last meeting, and again, this is one of the good things that Tom McGovern passed our way, we've been struggling with a quorum over the last 2 or 3 months. And he said, you know, there are other organizations and committees that operate wherein the people, where there are vacancies not filled, that those are discounted against the quorum. So the bylaws were sent out with an amendment, and what was done, the bylaws that were sent out, basically took out one sentence that accomplishes what Tom had recommended. So in the quorum section, the sentence that's taken out is vacant positions do not reduce the quorum requirement. So without that, then we can go, a quorum would be taking out the vacancies that might exist from appointments not taking place. So Is there a motion to approve the amended bylaws? Excuse me, let me go back for a second. We do have the authority under the bylaws, the very last section gives the, when the bylaws are drawn up, gives the committee power to amend the bylaws. So we do have the authority to do this. Yes, John?
Just a question. So I think today we have 3 vacancies then?
Correct.
So then our quorum would be 6?
Yes.
And, okay.
Yeah, that's the idea. It allows us to function more smoothly, approve minutes and that sort of thing.
Okay.
So now that the clarity has been added, is there a motion to approve the amendment, the bylaws as amended?
So move.
John Burnell moves. Is there a second?
This is Lucretia, I second.
Okay, we have a bar. So I'm going to ask Gilbert to have a roll call again, which we need to do under Robert's Rules of Order if we're going to amend the bylaws. So Gilbert, would you call the roll for us again, please?
Yes, sir. Sean Sansel,
Just say present.
John Winchester,
Present?
Melissa Brown Dominguez,
Chair, I'm sorry to interrupt. Can we go back and start the roll call and just A or nay or approve? Please.
Okay. Yep.
Sean Sansel. A. John Winchester,
Present?
would you say yea, nay, or?
I was having a hard time hearing.
Melissa Brown Dominguez, Charlene Robinson, Tom Beresny,
Yes.
Lucretia Free,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes.
John Burnell.
Yes.
Yes, and thanks for the clarification on the roll call. Thank you. My mistake. It's not the first one, probably won't be the last one. Okay. We can't laugh at ourselves, we're in trouble. Okay, let's move on to the road repair update. Jason Boley, please.
Well, thank you, Chair Verberg, members of the committee, for our present road repair update of January 24th. So starting off with the fiscal year 23 program, we do have several jobs there in red that are newly substantially complete since our last time meeting. Those include the Central Southwest job, Tucson Mountain, Northwest, Town of Catalina, and Green Valley. All those jobs are now substantially complete and will join the other 4 you see there as well. We do have several jobs in construction still. So starting with the curb ramp projects, our ADA curb ramp jobs, there are still 3 of those jobs that are active. You can see them there, Meadowbrook, Linda Vista, and Heritage Hills. All 3 of those jobs are scheduled to be wrapping up here toward the end of this month or very beginning of February. So all those should be getting into substantial completion here in the next few weeks. We do have some paving projects that are also in construction. We have the Catalina Foothills North job, which is ongoing and is expected to be complete toward the end of February. It is progressing, getting ready to be up here toward the middle of February with paving work. Catalina Foothills East, which is currently being paved as well. And then Catalina Foothills West, which is also getting paved. So a lot of paving work occurring on the north side of the metro area. And then, obviously, there's more jobs coming up this year to talk about. And so we have 3 here listed, the Costa Dobes South job, Costa Dobes North, and the South. The 2 Jock, the 2 Costa Dobes jobs are, they have apparent low bidders on both of them. So I know the slide only shows apparent low bidder for Costa Dobes South. But just as of last week, we have an apparent low bidder on North as well. Both of those jobs have come in under our engineer's estimate, and both of those jobs are scheduled to be complete by the end of June. The southeast jock is expected to be getting started here in mid-February, and that one is so that one should be getting going here pretty soon as well. There's one more job that's not on the slide here that I want to talk about, and it's the Heritage Hills job, which is in package prep right now. The engineer's estimate is $3.5 to $4.5 million, and it also will have a completion date of June 30th. And so that's not on the slide, but that is coming. So just to give you guys a awareness of that there's a job in package prep currently getting ready to be advertised. So with that, there's a lot of information in a short time, so wanted to show kind of where we're at by the numbers. You can see a large percentage in the blue there of complete projects, as well as a large number in construction as well. And then those advertised construction projects here will be changing over to in construction here probably in the next month or so. As always, just like to remind everyone that you can view the status of each of the roads for this fiscal year and past fiscal years on our road repair and preservation map. And whenever the road list gets picked for 24, it will also be on this link as well. And so with that, I would like to open for discussion.
Any comments or questions for Jason?
Chair, one question. Jason, yesterday I caught a news story about Green Valley, an issue in Green Valley. Are you guys up on that? And I mean, it sounded like they contacted the department and said, yeah, we're going to get to it. I don't know if it's this year or next year, but did you catch that at all?
I'm not aware of the story in question.
This kind of caught me by surprise that they were talking about the county and the pavement preservation stuff, so, okay.
Yeah, we can certainly look into that and find out more about that.
Okay, sounds good. Any other questions for Jason? All right, you're up for the next topic too, so go ahead.
All right. Did I go too far? All right, so we would have an overview of where we would like to be going in future programs and kind of give an idea. And so so Chair Verberg as well as PCDOT have been in discussions, and there's an agreement that we're going to convene a subcommittee there to review some of the data. You'll see that there in the middle of that chart. And as we convene this subcommittee, the goal is to review the updated pavement condition data from our vendor that we've been currently getting, and we're expecting to see results here of inflation shortly. The effects of inflation on construction costs, as well as best practices for different treatment types and the timing of different treatment types. Kind of the main goal of this would be to think about the question of how do we continue to keep up the condition of the investment we've made over the first 4 years of this program. And so we've reached out to ASU Pavement Engineering, to the CAT Center, and as well as through the Bever to get their information on the best practices, get feedback from them on program setup, and get their input on where we're at with that. And we're hoping to have that information by about March to be able to give to the subcommittee for their review. The subcommittee will also be giving updates regularly to the main PTAC committee as well on that. That's what I've got in terms of where we want to go. Chair Verberg, I'm not sure if you have any other comments you would like to add to this.
Just that we need to get started. Annabelle was good enough to check and see about the status of the subcommittee members. John Burnell, I believe, has agreed to go ahead and chair the subcommittee, which is a big step forward since he did that the last time around. So that's good experience for us in regard to the subcommittee. And we really need to get going, so Annabelle has been kind enough to set up the first meeting February 7th. Why am I thinking about vacation still? Maybe we all want to go back. Anyway, so we need to get started. We need to be up to speed to help out so everybody can do their job and we can help out as advisors. Yes, John?
Question about the schedule.
Yeah.
As you said, we're going to review, the progress we've made and the current practices for establishing priorities. But presumably, you're going to use what we have in place now for developing the 23-24 program?
So I think the idea that all this new stuff that we're talking about with the new data coming in and whatever results the subcommittee has discussed next fiscal would be able to be in place for next fiscal year's program.
Well, I guess the reason I'm asking is if we're meeting in February and you're talking about preparing bid packages in April, May, isn't there a step to get this stuff to the Board of Supervisors before we do even start thinking about bid packages?
I'll let Catherine have input on this.
I think that's a good.
Set the schedule for the subcommittee to align with would report out to the board. Typically, we have been reporting out to the board very end of April, early May in terms of what our package list is and how we came upon our goals to our recommendations. So if it's a 50-50 split, locals to arterials and collectors or any other changes. So we do anticipate that we have this worked out so that we will meet the schedule for next year's program, and that will obviously report out to the board appropriately.
That's great. Yeah, sounds good. Thank you.
Good question, John. Thanks. Any other questions?
Chair Verber, are the
Yes.
members of the subcommittee the same that were participating before? Have we lost any members? Do we need to invite perhaps some new people?
We have extended one or two invitations, but Chester, Melissa Brown Dominguez, Charlene Robinson, you'll be on the committee, of course. And I'm sitting in on the committee, too, as ex officio, and I guess I will still represent my district. So that would be the group, that would be the subcommittee. Not too big. We don't need a big subcommittee, but
right.
I'll put it this way. If anybody else on the committee wants to serve on the subcommittee, you're welcome. Just please let me know and Annabelle know, and then you'll be invited. So, but I think it's the right size for what we need to do.
And I assume anyone can attend as an
Yes,
observer.
absolutely.
as well.
Any committee member, and of course, it's open to the public, too. So anybody can attend and see what we're doing, or complete anything else, and all of it.
Excuse me, I'd like to mention that Melissa Brown Dominguez has joined us all.
Oh, great. Thanks, Melissa, for joining us. Okay, Jason, anything else?
That is all I have.
Excellent, thank you. RTA next update. Okay, let's go to the RTA next update. Director Skinner, please.
Thank you, Chair Verberg and the committee. Catherine Skinner, Director of Transportation for Pima County. And so I'm giving my regular update on the status of RTA Next and all the conversations that have been going on to get the new program together. The last time this committee met was December 13th, and the RTA board has not met since that time. So no further action is taken committee at that level. But the Technical Management Committee has met twice since that time. They had one meeting that was an ad hoc meeting, which involved members from the Citizens Advisory Committee as well as the Technical Management Committee. Some of the activities that have happened, Technical Management Committee requested updates to all the cost estimates from the various jurisdictions. We have stepped through that process. They've also reviewed 3 different types of rankings. So there was a CAC, the Citizens Advisory Committee priority ranking, and that really just looked at a high, medium, low result for all of the 108 projects. There was also a TMC priority ranking. That one comes out from when the workshop in September was held, and it was basically a yes, this meets the overarching criteria, and we think it would make sense to keep in consideration for a named roadway project. It's not regional in nature, or it may have a better home in a categorical project. And then the Citizens Advisory Committee has also gone through and ranked all the projects 1 through 10 against the various goals. Once they went through all of this ranking, we kind of came down, and I shared this last time. There were only 2 projects from the county's list that progressed to the list for consideration. That was an Irvington Road project from Ajo Highway to Mission Road, as well as a Sonoran Corridor project from I-19 to I-10. And it's really just the right-of-way acquisition and some early level planning activities for that, because that is a major, major undertaking to do a new state route. So in the process of some of these iterative meetings with Technical Management Committee, Citizens Advisory Committee, the county has expressed the importance of a few different projects. One of those projects is West Valencia Road from Mission over to Camino de Oeste. Another project is the Thornydale Corridor up north, extending all the way north into Marana. And then the last is the importance of a project in the Vail area. So there were 5 projects that had been submitted between the county and the city of Tucson in the Vail area. They included Colossal Cave, and then Colossal Cave from I-10 north up to Camino Loma Alta. And that was segmented into 5 different projects. The last discussion at the Technical Management Committee ad hoc working group meeting recommended the project to go forward from Vail be the Colossal Cave segment. So it would be improving that corridor from I-10, it goes up to the intersection with Marion Cleveland, across the railroad tracks, and then it goes to the east over to Camino Loma Alta. So that's kind of in play now. We're adding to the list of potential projects rather than whittling down to the $1.1 billion. Is important iterative work to make sure that we have a project list that both meets some regional balance as well as those different transportation needs across the network. So one document that you all were emailed in advance of this meeting, and then you have a small copy in front of you, was an exercise that the Department of Transportation stepped through along with county administration. And that was doing an overlay of all of these different rankings that have been produced both internally as the county, what our priorities are, looking at what the CAC identified as priorities through their goals ranking, and what the TMC has looked at. So I know it's a lot going on. Goals that were just to step through. There were 10 goals that were originally identified and recommended from the CAC, and those are summarized to the right and color-coded. So those are really the overarching goals, what all of the projects within the RTA plan should be working to achieve these goals for the region. And then those were stacked together in a bar chart. Obviously, the taller, highest score cumulatively across all of the goals. The second line that kind of goes up to the right, almost at a 45-degree angle, that's looking at the CIs of ranking 10 points, a potential of 10 points per goal area, and then summing that up. And the jagged line at the bottom is the sponsor ranking. So that was our internal county exercise of determining the rank of these. And then along the bottom, the x-axis, you see either an N or a Y in a little circle. So the Ys indicate that they are projects, priority projects at their September workshop, and the N indicates they were not selected. Overall, and I think Tom McGovern is maybe in this meeting still, there's an abundance of data. There's many different ways when you're putting together a program to try to determine what do we want to emphasize in this program. And so this was just one way to capture a lot of that data in one place. And one takeaway is that you don't necessarily have a straightforward answer of these are the projects that move forward. So it's really a balancing act. But that really concludes the update that we have for now. The next RTA board meeting, which really is an important meeting to take further action on a lot of this RTA next development, is scheduled for February. I don't have a hard date or time for that meeting yet, but those will be publicly posted. If there's any questions, or if Tom McGovern, you're on the line and want to share your perspectives as CAC chair.
Chair?
Yes.
Yeah, this is Tom Beresny. Got a question on the goals, saying your slide. Are they 3 more all the same, or is goal 1, 2, and 3 more important than, let's say, 8, 9, and 10?
I believe they're all weighted identically. There was not any sort of preference points given to any individual goal.
Thank you.
Other questions for Catherine? Yes, John Burnell.
Mr. Chairman, if Tom McGovern's not on, I've got some additional information from yesterday's CAC meeting, as a matter of fact. I still serve on the Technical Management Committee, but recently I declined to continue to be the liaison between the TMC and the CAC only because I was having some difficulty, quite honestly, keeping up with activities, and I thought a jurisdictional member might be a better representative. But nonetheless, yes, at yesterday's meeting, it appears to me that the county projects are getting a little more attention because they added 2 or 3 others, and so we need to get a hold of the more recent list. And then I also heard that a project proposed by the Tucson Airport Authority to extend or improve Country Club Road from I-10 to the airport is being considered, but it's going to be referred back to the TMC for some input before the CAC considers it. So there is a lot of activity, as Catherine said. And, the interesting thing about your group also try to go through and eliminate projects to reduce the cost, and they got down to 1.169 billion, so they didn't quite make their 1.1 yet, but they're still working on it, and that's with whatever current estimates we have. So very much a moving target yet, but I think the county's projects are getting a little more attention, which I thought was worthwhile.
Excellent, John, thank you. I do have a question. This list, running down the list with this small print, but nonetheless, eventually you can read it all. What about the 2 projects that are residual from the original RTA? Silver Bell Road, for example. Can you help us on that? Because those 2 projects, of which Silver Bell is one, I didn't see on the list. Can you help us there?
That's a really great question. Thank you, Chair Verberg. This list really was only comprised of new projects, and that's the same activity that all of the jurisdictions, when they're doing the rankings, when the committees are looking at, it's new projects. The 4 projects overall in the whole region that have been deferred at this point, they're basically, my understanding, as a default, will be a part of the new program. And so they don't need to really be ranked because of that, because it's been determined that they'll just be in the program.
So if I understand that correctly, the 1.1 billion that John referred to, that these projects would be listed first, and then this list that you just went through?
The one point that I don't know how they're doing the math from the RTA side, they may have set aside funding before the 1.1 billion. It's really unclear. This 1 billion is the number they keep saying for this list. So I'd only be making assumptions if I guessed where that funding is.
Mr. Chair, but I think the RTA staff has certainly said they feel the board has already committed themselves to assuring that these remaining RTA original projects are completed, so they're going to come from somewhere. I don't know if they'll come from the 1.1 or some other, total dollar.
So is the total 1.3 or 1.4?
Well, keep in mind, they're working from a total cost of 2.8?
Somewhere thereabouts.
Whatever for the program. This is the allocation for the roadway corridor. And that's just the general breakup that they've done now. They've still got to deal with the programmatic projects. Transit's going to get a big chunk, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't know, Ed. This is just kind of a planning number that they're using right now, the 1.1 billion, but they're having a great deal of difficulty in it for sure.
And the other thing I'll add to that is a great point. I mean, we haven't talked about all of the programmatic or categorical projects, which is a significant amount of the program once you look at transit. It's also based on a half-cent assumption for they can projection, and by state statute, they can go higher than a half-cent. That was what the current RTA is. So there is potential they could change that tax rate in order to accommodate more projects.
Questions?
Yes, Chair Verberg, I had a question. This is
Yes.
Patricia. At some point, a decision does have to be made. So is there any projected time frame as to when, not one of these goals, but there's a goal, not one of these goals, but a different kind of goal about the timing making a decision one way or the other?
I know that they had anticipated, I believe, and Paul, jump in if I get the dates incorrect, sometime later this spring. So these cost estimates that are included to get to the 1.1 are very much agency-driven, high level cost estimates. So at some point later in this spring, they want to engage a consultant that will fine-tune those estimates, and that's one important step to go through. And then once they have that information as well as a whittled down list, I believe they're looking at this summer to get to the RTA board for their approval of the list. On the ability to have the RTA board meetings necessary to have the discussions. So.
Very good. Any other questions? Otherwise, we'll move along to the next topic. Very good. Thank you, Director Skinner.
Thank you.
Okay, the next topic is for the committee to brainstorm a little bit about where we're going as a group and what we're going to be doing over the next year or two. We had some discussion of that in the last meeting. Even though we didn't have a quorum there, we did have some healthy discussion about where we're going. I've asked you to put up a blank slide, a PowerPoint slide, which is what you see now, to open up the discussion and to solicit your ideas on where we should be going, what we should be working on as a committee up the next year or two. So with that, I'm going to open it up. I know some folks have already mentioned they have some ideas, so who would like to start?
Chair Verberg?
Yes, Tom.
I got two items I've got written down. The first one, I asked about a briefing that's coming from constituents down in the southern part of Pima County about moving private roads in HOAs to county maintained. Annabelle did send me the briefing that was given a couple of years ago at a PTAC meeting, but if I could get this at least briefed at a subsequent meeting, so and board members of HOAs that are interested in that process works, have an idea of how that process works.
Okay, and the second one, Gilbert already has that one down.
The second one is future funding, and there's some dynamics within this. It's both how the Department of Transportation is funded and the perception through we may lose revenue through HURF and vehicle license tax because of the expanded use of electric vehicles. So that needs to be a discussion and possibly some recommendations to the Board of Supervisors, especially when it comes to the budgetary process. Yep.
Thanks, Tom, for that. Other ideas? These are good. John, I could hear your brain cranking over there.
Well, Mr.
Go
Chairman,
ahead.
I did hear Catherine speak last week at a group and mention that, of course, our program in this department is pretty much entirely repair and maintenance. And we used to have a very healthy capital improvement program. And I would hope we could spend some time on unincorporated county, to unincorporated Pima County. Now, obviously, there's some that are in that RTA list, but I'm guessing there's others. So I think that would be an important topic for us as well, just the improvement program.
Okay, 3 good topics so far. Other ideas? As Tom said, I think there might be more than one, maybe several financial options that we could be considering. And it's always good to have more than one option when you're talking about future funding, because not all of them necessarily happen. So I'd like to say that we should explore alternative sources of revenue and look at what other states, counties, and so forth are doing besides, excise taxes. Or what else is there that's been used that might apply and be helpful for future funding that the board might consider. So I'm just adding on to to that one that Tom brought up, because I think it's,
Mr. Chair,
yes.
this is John Winchester. Have we thought at all about toll roads, pikes, private roads?
Well, that's toll roads, for example, that would be I think an option that we've not considered in the past. So I think that's a little bit under that umbrella, and Gilbert can add it under there. I know they're used back east quite a bit. I mean,
Austin as well, in South Texas.
yep.
They're becoming increasingly popular because local jurisdictions are having problems with funding. Just throwing it out.
Yeah, that's excellent point. We're putting it up there. That we're trying to generate ideas here, and there have to be more than one or two funding sources because they won't all make it, either because residents don't want to support it or because they do support it, we won't get enough revenue from one source, we may need it from another. So it could be multiple sources that we need to carry out a future program. Anything else, John? Good
No,
point.
sir, that was just something I was thinking about.
Yeah, no, good point. We shouldn't take it off the table. We should have it on the table. Any other ideas? Okay, I think that's more than ample for us to work on. I would like to suggest that we have a little bit of a discussion about these in the next meeting and the possibility that we might rank them so that we can kind of see which ones stand out as the top one or two that we want to focus on. And that's not hard to do. So before I close this, I'll just ask one more time.
Well, I would,
Their suggestions or ideas?
well, I would like to have an option of providing additional thoughts. I don't want it to close forever, like with a lock and key. So if there are additional thoughts that people have, can there be a grace period where they can get back with you on adding them for consideration?
Yeah, good point. As a matter of fact, we could add them on in the next meeting, or if people have suggestions before then. And of course, public input related to this is important too. So this is an open forum. We welcome comments on our suggestions and where we're thinking of going. So.
Mr. Chairman, I've got one more thought.
Okay,
Lucretia
go.
speaking up kind of reminded me that there's a lot of attention being given to the Vail area and the RTA discussions, and I'd be interested to see what Pima County's interests are in that area, what their expectations are, whether they've got some future projects, are they concentrating a lot of activity? It's obviously a very big growth area.
Yeah, very much so.
It'd be an interesting topic, I think.
I think we have, okay, we've added that in there. I think we have more than enough to bite off, so to speak, and to consider. So we're going to go ahead and close it with those ideas. And with what Lucretia said, we're going to keep an open forum for this. So, all right, let's move on to the next topic. And thank you all for your suggestions. Do we have anyone from the audience here who would like to comment on anything we've covered? And we didn't have any sign-ups before the meeting, so, okay, thank you, Gilbert. All right, the next meeting is February 28th. If you have any comments, suggestions for the agenda, please have them to Annabelle by February 3rd.
Chair Verberg, didn't we discuss, or can we discuss at our next meeting, adding our schedule for 2023, how often we need to meet?
Yes, actually, that should have been on the ideas and suggestions list. So Gilbert, could you add that? We'll probably be busy on a monthly basis during the subcommittee deliberations, but maybe after that we can go every other month or something like that. So we should have a discussion about frequency also. Gilbert has that. Anything else? Not hearing any other comments or ideas, we'll go toward adjournment. So do we have a motion for adjournment?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, Tom is moving, we adjourn. Is there a second that we? Charlene Robinson seconds. Hearing no objections, we are adjourned. Thank you all.